values and motivations are for creating. So think about what is it that you actually want to see more of, and how do you want to feel when you're scrolling on your timeline. I think for me, when I first started creating, I was so against creating short form content because I was like, it's all like TikTok dances and it's all like brain rot. I don't really know if that, fits my vibe. Fast forward 2 years later, there's so many other creators who are doing content that is like in the same niche or like in a similar space of mine, of like trying to bring more meaning and value back to short form content, showing and proving that you actually can pack a lot of valuable information or more introspective things in short form video. The second thing is to pursue the ideas that you're most excited or most curious about. So as I mentioned earlier, I think a lot of it comes down to not thinking too much about what do other people want to see, but just being really, really honest with yourself on what do you actually want to create and what do you want to learn. Like, I think this can be a bit of I don't know if it's like controversial, but I think this is like an unpopular take where I think it's actually really okay to be selfish with what you create. Because the selfishness, in a way, will keep you creating long enough for you to actually see what's working and what's not. So in a way, like, I think all of the times we think about like how can we make value for someone else, but at the end of the day, it's like, what are you actually just genuinely excited about? And like, it might seem silly, it might seem dumb, but if it's something that you're excited about, then like, I think you should just go for it. So the third part of that is create for long enough to gather enough information. So what I mean by that is, I think we often give up or we stop doing something before it even had the chance to like really come to fruition. So I think like for me, again, like using the series or episodic type of content is what really helped me in creating and understanding like, okay, if I commit to 10 episodes, if I hate it at like the 6th episode, at least I can like commit to the rest of the 4. And once that series is done, like I can move on with my life and like I'll know that I just like don't want to do that type of stuff anymore. So I think at the end of the day, it really all just boils down to trust in yourself. Trust that like your voice is something that is valuable enough to be heard, and trust that you will eventually figure out like what exactly is your style and what is your niche. So the other like side thing, which I added this slide in this morning because yesterday I went to a dance class. Some of you might know this, but I've been trying to take dance more seriously. So I've been like taking a lot of dance classes, and yesterday it was really, really serendipitous timing that my dance instructor had said, the only way to find your voice is to use it. And it was so interesting because he said this in the context of dance, moving your body. And it made me realize that finding your voice is not just like something that's exclusive to social media. It's not something exclusive to like, creating videos. Finding your voice can apply to dance, photography, how you show up in any room. And it's just so interesting that like, I don't know. It's just like such practical advice. Like the only way to find your voice is to just go ahead and use it. Go ahead and say is understood by the viewer. That is when the magic happens. This sounds like a very simple statement, but I think people underestimate the simplicity here because I think that the gap often happens over here. So there's this frustration in this gap between your world and your audience's world. And so when your message, the message that you want to put out there is unclear to the viewer, we are quick to blame the idea when maybe what's actually happening is that the execution is not right. So maybe you have this like crazy idea, you were so excited about it, or you have this photography portfolio or something and you really want to showcase it, and you're kind of just like, why is it not doing well? Well, it's not that the work itself is, bad or anything. It's that maybe it's not packaged in the right way for the end viewer to interpret it the way that you interpret it. So I think that's where a lot of the experimentation comes in. It's just understanding what are different ways that you can tell or convey that idea. So before you scrap an idea, just think about how other people might understand it, because maybe what's happening is that how you understand it in your head is not how other people are understanding it. So what is the solution here? I think the big solution is experimentation that is led by curiosity. So as you kind of saw when I was recapping the brief history of like my content creation journey, in the beginning, experimentation for me looked like a bunch of really random things. Like we had the Strangers project, we had like travel content. I was just trying a bunch of different formats at that time. And then what experimentation looks like for me now is really just like trying different styles. So now that I figured out that, you know, these are the stories that I can tell uniquely, now it's just how do I make that look different? How do I keep things fresh for myself and my audience? So I would say what I create now is kind of a mosaic of different fragments of my life. Like I can talk about halo, which is like a Filipino dessert that my mom makes me. I can talk about the lamps in my house. I can talk about like clothing. I can talk about like, you know, lessons that I've learned, whatever it may be. But people still know that it's my video, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But I think the common glue here is that these stories are things that are personal and meaningful to me, and that's what makes them different compared to anything else that you see online. For example, here I have this like thumbnail of this video that I made last year. This video is the episode where I had told my parents the truth about quitting my full-time job to do content creation full-time. You know, strict Asian parents, it's like it's a very awkward thing. So that's a story that like I can tell from my experience that so many people can relate to, because maybe they have like a similar, you know, story. Like you were raising your hand earlier, like it's relatable. It's like things that like, sure, other people have gone through that experience before, but no one can tell it exactly from the way that you experienced it. So no matter like how the algorithm changes.
Shoot in midday light. I know as photographers, we're should be golden hour morning, golden hour evening, the best of the best. But if you're just out there practicing your birds of light shots, midday harsh afternoon light is actually pretty fantastic because you can crank up those shutter speeds. This shot was at 1/6400, but then your ISO is around 500. It's great for shooting and practicing birds in flight, so don't fear mid-afternoon light. Another thing is being noticing all your surroundings. So this is a Western meadow lark. I was at a park shooting portraits of it when I noticed somebody walking in my direction. I stopped, cranked up my shutter speed, waited, that person flushed the bird, it flew right by me, and I got a whole series of shots. So same thing, you're here in Toronto, you got all those ducks on the pond, right? You're taking photos of them, all of a sudden somebody's walking by with their dog. What do you think all those ducks are gonna do? They're all going. So just paying attention and being aware of what's happening. All right, folks, if this was super boring, this is the slide you're going to want to take a photo of. It has everything, all the key takeaways that I want you to go home with. Use a fast shutter speed. When in doubt, 1/3200. Use large area autofocus. Use a larger autofocus area mode versus single point. A location with lots of opportunities equals better results. Don't be afraid of high ISO or bright sunny days. In fact, button focus and auto ISO are your friends. And as a thank you for watching, folks, I have a free gift for you. It's a mouthful. It's my Perfect Photography Settings Cheat Sheet ebook. I didn't change the name of that. But feel free to scan the QR code. It's a little ebook full of all the tips that I taught you here. It has a little section on birds in flight. It's like 12 pages. It'll help you out a ton the next time you go out and shoot birds in flight. Something you just pull out of your pocket and check out while you're out shooting. Feel free to grab that.
Actually grow a team. You create a community, you mentor fellow peers, your staff, you actually have people to rely on when you do two things. And then you boost your...
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
If you have one follower, like who's to say that you haven't already found your voice? I think people see that, you know, follower count or whatever as validation, but in a way, finding your voice is really just about how can you show up as you as possible. So as much as you can like copy other people's style and things like that, you're not truly going to show up as authentically as you until you're able to articulate stories that only you can tell. So the way I see it is there's kind of this gap. There's this gap between the you in real life and the you online. And what happens here is what I like to call the chasm of struggle that a lot of us sit in. It's really, really hard to show up on camera. Not everyone has the presence to be on camera, and I was also one of those people. I was a very, very shy kid, and showing up in front of camera just felt really, really unnatural. Like it always felt like I was like talking a little quieter. I felt like I was being really cringy, and I think a lot of it came from comparison. You know, you'd see different creators online, and you'd think, wow, how can they talk so eloquently? Or, you know, you look at the algorithm and you're frustrated because you're like, why is my artwork not actually doing well on social media? So there's all these different factors that kind of prevent you from how you show up in real life to translate that nicely to how you show up online. It's really, really hard, especially when we get into the cycles of perfectionism and the fear of judgment.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
But if you think about it, like those moments are, I don't know if I'd call them rare, but they're really special in a sense that like there's a reason that caught your eye. And so if you like kind of spend a little extra minute or two just thinking about why did that catch your eye? Like, is it the colors? Is it something about the story? I think that's really when you start to understand what is the type of stuff that you want to create. Because if that resonated with you, you probably want to emulate some of that in like your work as well. The next thing obviously is like making a list of things you're genuinely excited about. So just being really honest, like stripping away all the numbers and the metrics, like what is it that you want to post no matter how silly or dumb it seems. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, you can't really force creativity. So if you don't feel creatively inspired, like go for more walks, like literally just do nothing. Sometimes inspiration comes from just being bored. But with that, I wanted to end off the presentation and kind of open up the floor to Q&A because I think that's kind of...
if you haven't, why haven't you, and all that. Just the AI is a big thing now, and it's a helper and can be, and has become your best friend.
Yeah, so I think that because I came from a tech background, I'm definitely more open to AI compared to maybe other creators. But I do think that there's like certain lines that like I don't want to cross with AI. So for me, like how I use it in my workflow right now is literally just like things that will make my life easier. So for example, like I used to manually mask out like every single little dot, like I'd be like masking it out forever, but now like DaVinci, I'm pretty sure like their magic mask, like that's AI. Like even if people don't talk about it, even if it's like not like super flashy, like that is AI. So it's like tools like that that are integrated into my workflow already. That is stuff that I like will openly use because I'm like, wow, this makes my life so much easier. And then I honestly do sometimes use Claude. Like if I have an idea that I want to fully flesh out and I'm like kind of stumped, I'll just like give it all my old scripts and I'll be like, hey, like what is something that like I can pull from this, or so like even when I was making this presentation, I was like, okay, if this is my audience and like I want to put myself in their shoes, like what are questions that they would want to know? So it's like I use it more as a thought partner. So I'm still putting in the work to figure out the answers and like do the creative work, but it's just helping me think of it in a way that maybe I wouldn't have before. Cool. That's a really unique question. I like it. So I think a story can be as short as long as you want it to be. Like I think a story can even be told by like a single photograph. So I think there's really no limit. I think that was again one of the misconceptions that I also had to overcome, where I was like really again against short form video and social media, because I was like, can you actually fit a story that's meaningful in that time? And you totally can. Like even if you see a photograph and you're like, wow, like this photograph made me feel something. It made me feel emotion. So I think like even without words, you can tell a story. So there isn't really like a set formula or like secret recipe. I think it's like if you see something and you're like, wow, that like resonates, like that tells a story. And I think it's like very much so the typical saying of like a picture is worth 1,000 words or something like that. So yeah, and then also I just want to add that, so for my 60-second videos, I do script them as well. So I think for me at least, scripting is like a good way to make sure I get enough of the story across. Even if it's not like a full story, it's still like a whole narrative. And then also it just helps me as like a more shy, awkward person, because like if I have no script, I just feel really awkward filming.
Okay, so my sister played volleyball. I don't know if you guys have ever spent 8 hours at a volleyball tournament in one day. It gets boring. And my mom just had like a cheap little DSLR camera. I'm like, let me try like that. So I just started trying it. I got better at this, and I'm like, wait, I can actually do this like as a job, because like the mom started paying me to like take photos of the kid and whatever, and eventually it's just, now I'm here.
Now we're here. But that's exactly what I was saying. Like, you should start shooting like amateur stuff.
Yeah.
And then work stuff. There's always like, parents or teams.
Yeah, I've heard this saying, like, let's say you're the best violinist in the world, but you never picked up a violin. You never know. So like, I'm glad like it ended up working out. Not that I'm the best.
Okay, champ.
Not that I'm the best filmer in the world, but it's just like
I get where you're
now
going.
I have a job based out of it. You know?
Who knew that I was Annie Leibovitz? I just didn't pick up the camera before. That's great.
But people who are using AI to generate complete images, that's not photography, that's graphic art. And so he made a comment to me that was very interesting, and that was, I'm doing antiquated photography because I don't use burst mode, I don't use artificial intelligence, and I still use Zeiss lenses, especially manual lenses. And so this guy seemed very worked up about the fact of how I shot my own pictures. And I'm just like, you're talking to me, and I kept trying to get away, and as I'm trying to get away, this guy's following me, and I'm like, okay, you keep following me, I'm gonna follow a restraining order. So, and I'm just like, there are people who get worked up about what you do. And I just want you to know this one. Remember this. Validation is only for parking. There are a lot of people who are just starting out in photography, and they look to people like myself on the internet to write messages and say, hey, can you look at my photos and tell me what you think about it? Am I doing good? Am I doing bad? I'm like, why does that matter what my opinion is of your work? If that's the reason why you're doing it, you've already failed. Because my critique about your work should not matter. And it's like, do you feel good about what you're capturing? Do you like what you're capturing? Because there are times that I post photos where sharpness isn't everything. Capture for the story in moments. Break the rules. And be comfortable with and know your gear. Do what feels right to you. So this is an example. Talk about what you do, your artwork. They're talking about you, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. Example of the scene, because that will direct you on what to do for post-processing. Many people ask, well, I usually get stuck when it comes to the editing process. Look at what dominates color-wise. That gives you something to focus on. That's the easiest way. If you don't know where to go, start there. And feel for the scene. Again, helps in post-processing for creating creative styles that complement the image. So here's an unedited. Again, enough time to set everything. What you
But you gotta think it's photography plus. If you're hesitant to be a hybrid shooter because of your perceptions, you need to change your mindset and think differently and get inspired by someone that does it. A photo freezes a moment, well, video is just a series of decisive moments strung together, okay? This video that's looping in the background, that was last year. Video editing, I mean, just like everyone does right here in photo edits, we gotta learn another workflow, video editing. It's not too hard at first. It's actually fun, and then it becomes harder once you get paid because you gotta finesse everything. So you gotta learn how to like capture enough footage that sometimes clips don't work. You know, you could record for 10 seconds, but you probably need more sometimes. And then cut it down. Well, capture enough footage. Nikon has this entry-level camera. It's called the Nikon Z50, second generation. It records video beautifully. It's a compact. It's not full frame, so it's much more affordable than full frame. So you don't need very expensive equipment right now, especially recording video. Also, good lighting is important. Good lighting makes a difference in any type of situation. Good lighting and clear audio matter more than cinema cameras. Just like photography, you need good lighting in order to create great portraits. You can see the video that's looping in the background. That's at Sundance, one of the important film festivals in America. And what I do during Sundance I actually have a client named Collider. They're an entertainment Hollywood reporter, and they hire us to do video production. So we're recording video interviews throughout the whole day. We're talking about like, I don't know, like 30 interviews during 3 days, 10 a day. Films coming in, you gotta mic them up, you gotta make sure audio's working. And on top of that, we're taking photos, we're doing portraits, we're doing step and repeats. So a client like Collider.
Black magic.
No. So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
Thick build mirror. This is shooting straight down a cliff. So I'm holding my lens, standing on a 3,000 foot cliff. And it's a 600 with an f4 pointed down. And the background is black volcanic rock. And the waves are washing up and washing out. So I could have everything from black to almost white from the sea foam as those waves wash in and out. And the birds are so interested when they're at the top of the cliff, as opposed to you scaring them away by walking up to them, that they stick their head out and they give you every head angle. So just a little bit of patience and you'll get a shot like this. And you can see that the catch light I was talking about, it's not a catch light, it's not a reflection of the sun. It is the white sky reflected in the eyeball. And that's how much resolution we have in the lenses and the cameras together. And we never had that in film before. This is incorporating that background, which is leftover snow from the largest snowfall ever recorded on the island. And we're there in July and there's still snow in the base of the cliffs and the shadows of the cliffs. And so we're incorporating that in the background just as an exercise on the same day. 3 different species of puffin in the world. So we've talked about the Atlantic puffin.
Hands, literally in your hands. The shift is in your mindset, guys. I mean, a lot of people might find doing video intimidating. At first, it was for me. I was afraid of like screwing up, but you have to just give yourself a chance and practice. And now there's a lot of myths that I have to debunk from my experience, of course. It looks hard. In the beginning, pre-pandemic, like around 2017, I wasn't into video. I was fully into photography, and I would have to rely on my peers, my friends that did video, because to me it was so hard. I didn't understand the frame rates, the different file formats. It was just mind-boggling because I was so invested in photography, just like a lot of people here, right? So it looks hard, it does, but let's step back and look at it. But through practice and testing, you build your confidence on both sides of the camera mode, okay? Building experience and confidence with video one step at a time and one time at a time. So on your downtime, maybe you want to go and take your camera out and record, all right? Modern mirrorless gear, such as the Nikon Z6 III, Z6 VIII, ZR, Z9, all those camera and other camera brands take perfectly great photos and videos. It makes it easier to shoot both, okay? Technology advancements, such as in-body stabilization, like all the Nikon Z6 series, the full frames, have in-body stabilization. If you don't know what that is, it allows your video to stay stabilized. And also autofocusing has improved the Nikon Z6 III, Z8, Z9, ZR, okay? Back at the skill set, it is a different skill set, more or less, because you are handling the camera differently than holding your camera and just pressing the shutter button for that moment. But also, you guys are all creators and creative, and you want to kind of expand your creativity when you switch into video mode. Also, the opportunities are going to be bigger and they'll pay better, in my opinion. Like video is an important revenue stream for my company, Protagonist, and it could be important as well in your business offerings. Also, you, like my slide says, you unlock your creative potential more than photography. Boost your creative range, market your value with hybrid approach, position yourself as a dynamic, multi-skilled creator. Like, I'm telling you the truth, if you know how to take pictures, it's not that too hard to do video. And also, becoming more of a hybrid shooter, you scale your business. If you are an entrepreneur and you're just taking pictures and you kind of find that, you know, sometimes you are slow during some of the seasons, well, you can probably offset that slowness with business that's video related. And also, you can expand your team. You can have team members, and with that, you can build a community and also connect with more opportunities because you are telling your clients or your potential audience that you do both photos and videos. All right, so my next slide is about you likely already have what you need. You all have cameras like you are. You have a cell phone. You all have cameras. I'm assuming that you all have cameras here. Well, so modern mirrorless gear or equipment, is that just the Nikon Z series? We're talking about the Nikon Z9, which is the flagship. It's the boss, the star of the Nikon series of cameras, the Nikon Z9. And then one below it's the Nikon Z8, and then below that is the Nikon Z6 III or Z6 III. Has a really great video camera or mirrorless camera. When they rig it up, put on a gimbal, people will look at it as like, oh, it looks hard. But to be honest, it's not that hard. It might look hard, just like photography when we started out, but it's really not. But through practice and testing your camera in video mode, you build your confidence on both sides of the camera mode. Okay? The rest is really basically in video mode is motion, audio, and pasting. Mastering the basics. You gotta master the basics just like you did with your photography skill set. You gotta know how to handle your camera a little bit differently, and also learn how to walk with your camera in video mode. You don't want to be, running around like if you're not taking pictures. But it's important that you know how to walk with your camera in video mode, and also know how to point your camera smoothly. Also, when you're in video, it's another layer. It's the audio aspect of video. You gotta kind of understand how sound is being captured because we need to learn how to minimize distraction, background noises. Right now, I hear a lot of stuff coming on this side from other speakers. That's distraction. But you can mitigate that with using external microphones, external recorders. Also, what's popular is the DJI microphones that are wireless or Sennheisers. Audio is important when you evolve more into video for sure. Also, you gotta here's another.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
I just want to do one round.
Wow, we're in the
Black Magic.
a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time. I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
You guys to actually take and digest what we just learned and utilize it here. So I'm going to show posing as if they were the like scary, like, oh no, we don't know what to do, because I think that's going to be more helpful. So Indian Declan, I'm just going to have you stand up here and I'm going to get out of your way. So just yell if I'm in your way at all.
30 seconds at a time.
Lean in and have shoulders back. And it just totally changed the dynamic of the framing. And you can also play with shoulders with clients. Like again, I never try to have shoulders, unless it's a stiff, like I'll show you an example here, where someone's fixing like a boutonniere or something and I want shoulders to look really strong. I tend to have one shoulder up, one shoulder down, or one more forward, or curled back, curled forward. Never just, this is boring, right? Because if you think about it, any of us can go into a mirror and see ourselves at eye level. And when we see ourselves, what do we see? Our shoulders like this. If you start adjusting their shoulders and their head, automatically you're showing them a unique perspective of themselves. So don't sleep on posing shoulders. Here's an example here. So she was, another posing tip. If you want clients close together, but I don't like the actual kissing shot, it's either usually like just before or after, I'll tell clients, I want you to kiss with your teeth, which sounds so gross. But they're like, what? I'm like, just kiss with your teeth. And then they go to try to like do it and they start laughing and then their faces are actually that close and it creates like a really cute photo. So the next time you're working with your clients, tell them to kiss with your teeth, and I promise you it's like, even just the results of what they get out of it is so funny. But here, it would have been a totally different photo if her shoulders were back versus leaning into him and curled into him. So be aware when you're posing your clients what their shoulders are doing. Here's an example of, again, I wanted a strong shoulder back. And at first when I was posing him, because I told him, he was like, is my face in this? And I said no. So he's adjusting his bow tie. And what do we do when we know that like we're not really in the photo? Turtle, right? Just like, at least I do. So then I was like, no, shoulders back. And it just totally changed the dynamic. Even though his face wasn't in it, changed the dynamic of his back. Another example of shoulders curled in. Big difference again if she would have been curled back. This is a great example where I see a lot of photographers miss the mark when they're working with kids. If you're working with kids, we all know it's a little chaotic. It's kind of like survival mode. But making little adjustments when you can make a big difference. So for example, when they were first posing like this, the little kid was over her shoulder like this, and she held the shoulders. Can you just be my kid for a minute? Okay, stand up. So the mom is like this and hold my hand. I gotta remember I have a little lav on. Okay, so hold my arm and see how stiff he looks? The mom was like, this is a child. I have a child. It's so loud in here right now, sorry guys. And I said, I'm like, no, I'm gonna get you guys to sway and curl forward, curl your shoulders. So like this, like that. You have to do it to me because I have this on. Okay, so first, arms around me, like this. Like right here. Okay, and so she's holding like this. And at first she was just like, this is my child. Versus if she's like, oh, and then it's all like cute. But you see the difference of, thank you child and parent. The difference of curling that shoulder with the kid made all of it look more emotional. And if you ever get stuck or you feel like people are still a little stiff, keeping them moving while you're introducing these poses to them is key. So often
Black magic.
So there's a lot of experiential things as well.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
And you need to feed all of that data, all those signals to all the different parts of your set. But a small camera just gives you flexibility. I see people filming in here with their mirrorless cameras. You know, you're getting an image that 20 years ago we would have loved to be able to get in something that small. Another video that we did, this one we traveled, and so part of traveling to do is it gave me access to a cinematic image. It gave me shallow depth of field. It gave me a way to tell stories and make music videos and make videos with my friends, and ultimately kind of launched my career and taught me a lot of things. Obviously, made a lot of mistakes along the way. But what I loved about it was the camera was small, which let me put it in cool places, hanging out of the side of the car. It didn't require a huge grip team to set dolly track and to, carry batteries that weighed 10 pounds. And it was just this light, nimble thing that I could travel with, that I could move in new ways. We didn't have as much gimbal technology back then, so a lot of it was handheld or the smoothie steady cam type thing. And a big part of that cinematic image was shallow depth of field. At the time, that was
Black magic.
me, and hopefully that comes in the next couple of minutes. The number one question I get is, how do you get bugs to stay still? And it is very challenging, but it's a lot more challenging when it's hot outside. And the hottest time of the day is the middle of the day. But the coolest time of day is just as the sun is coming up. So go out, if you can drag yourself out of the house at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, you go out, and insects are slower when they're colder. There's also an advantage because a lot of times they have morning dew on them, and then you get the dew in your photos, and that looks nice. So get out early, go to the park, go out in your yard, look for those subjects nice and early. Be patient. I think sometimes people see my photos or other macro photographers that are shooting macro in the wild, and they say, oh my God, like, how did you find that? How did you get it to stay still? That doesn't happen quickly. Sometimes you have to do a lot of searching. Sometimes you have to follow an insect. You have to wait for an insect. You have to find the perch that you want something to land on. Think of this as bird photography. And you have to wait for the subject to come to you. It can take a lot of time, but if you are patient, you will be rewarded. Aim for the eyes. Think of these as little subjects for portraits. These are your portrait models. If you were shooting a portrait of a beautiful human, you would aim for their eyes. You want those eyes to engage the subject, engage the viewer. So when you're photographing a dragonfly or a spider, think of it the same way, aim for the eyes. If the front plane of the eyes, the front curvature of the eyes is in focus, everything else can be out of focus. Yes, you might want to focus stack, you might want to bring more in, but if you get that part in, you're going to be okay. Get low. Bringing the viewer into the world of a subject that they're not used to seeing from that angle can be really engaging. It can make that subject look even larger.
So I showed some photos here of spiders where I'm down on the ground looking kind of up at their face. We're not used to seeing spiders that way. That's more interesting, okay? You can photograph subjects from any angle and you can make a successful photo, but getting low is a surefire way to make something interesting. Minimize variables. So here we're back in my office at home. We're on the desktop shooting my kids' Lego figures. Why would I do this? Because they don't move. They're pretty small. I can work focus. I can practice that minimum focusing distance. I can understand how my flash is going to impact my results. I can experiment, and then when I go outside and the conditions are far less controlled, I'm ready, okay? So practice inside. The progression I like to promote is inside with full control, outside with maximum control. So inside shooting acorns or pebbles or leaves, and then outside without any control, and that's the live subjects. And last but not least, try to have fun. When you're out, especially shooting wildlife, whether it's big wildlife, small wildlife, enjoy nature, enjoy your time. Sometimes you're sweating and you're missing shots and everything's going to hell, but remember, it's all for fun, and if you can remember that and keep yourself honest to that point, you're going to have a great time, and it's a big success. And that brings us to the end. Thank you all for sitting here with me today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Our film festival. I also do Sundance. I'm very fortunate to be able to bring my team along to Sundance, to South by Southwest, also do Tribeca, and this year I happen to do Cannes as well, and also Vancouver International Film Festival, which is a smaller film festival. But more or less, that door opened and gave me more access to bigger events, bigger film festivals. So right now, I focus on photography and video work for my clients. I mainly focus on businesses, not consumer stuff. Maybe once in a while, someone will call me up. It's like, hey, like a client's like, hey, one of my employees is looking for a photographer for their wedding, and I'll be interested to take that opportunity. Right? So that's who I am. I am a photographer just like everyone that's sitting here. All right, and now I do video. So I'm considered a hybrid shooter. Today, this presentation is really focused on photographers that are hesitant to include video into their service offerings or curious about shooting video. Today, it's super important that photographers actually provide video in some capacity. It could be a small service offering or a full production offering to your clients. So I want to touch upon these points, why hybrid shooting matters more than ever today. You likely already have what you need in your hands, and debunking some myths about video and kind of trying to challenge your mindset and shifting that to offer video in your work. Also, I'll share some of my real world workflows and some gear tips. How's that sound? Pretty good? I just wanted to show of hands. Do you guys also shoot video? Any photographers that also shoot video? Okay, and then how many people just shoot photos? Okay, and then everyone else? Cell phones? Yes. Good. I'm going to include everyone here. All right. But first, I want.
That's a home run, and I like how the guy in the dugout's watching it. Then putting on the blue jacket. So this is from my remote position. This is with the R6. This is a huge crop, like huge crop. Vladdy's celebrating the win. Vladdy, after a home run, came into the bench to put on the blue jacket, and he left it on for a little while they did like the 7th inning stretch light show. So again, like I said, I'm always chasing lights. So when the light's different in this place, and I hate that they turn off the lights because you can't see anything, but in this case it helped me because there's a little bit of blue light, so it gives them a little bit of face. And the sparkles on this really made it pop. So it's kind of like one of those nice kind of like pictures that, you know, make a photographer happy. We're not always trying to make our editors happy. We're trying to make ourselves happy too, right? This is from the remote. This is from the remote on the other rail. So this was game 7. This is when Springer hit that home run in the, I think it was the 7th or 8th inning. So I have the camera pre-focused on the bench. And then, like, these cameras, you're allowed, they have like, they have some adaptive focus things. So like, you know, if you push the remote halfway down, the camera will like autofocus on something, right? But for this, I really wanted the bench, so I put it on manual focus. I pre-focused on this, and like that's all that camera was shooting the whole time. So George is a little out of focus, but I'm shooting him from over there, so like it doesn't matter. But what I wanted all this celebration, and I wanted that celebration. I wanted like the fans to be included with the team. And then like, you know, like this gives editors like, you know, like we can crop it like this, we can crop it like that, you know, like depending on what the angle of the story is. If we're talking about fans, we can use it there. If we're talking about the team, we can use it there. If we're talking about both, boom, there it is. And then like,
is within a 45-minute radius of where I live in Waterloo. I've been very intentional with building a business that makes me happy at the end of the day. I used to work a lot. I would have like a 2-hour drive to every wedding. So that would mean that I'm living in Waterloo, but my getting ready cover an hour from when I leave my house until I'm back at my house. So that includes driving, that includes usually an 8-hour wedding day, and I'm doing typically both photography and video. And that has made myself like a very, very happy, sustainable business. For about 10 years, between maybe 2010 and COVID basically, I was doing between 60 to 70 weddings every single year, which is like a crazy number. And the only way I was able to sustain that is by doing these like shorter 8-hour wedding days. And it's also the venues as well. So I would be at venues that I knew that the getting ready could be on site, that the ceremony was going to be on site, and then eventually the reception was there too. So it made it very, very easy. And again, not instant change. You can't just be like, oh, my days are getting out of hand, I'm going to start only working at the venues I want to work at. But it is incrementally that maybe you're featuring them a little bit more on social media. Maybe you're doing a little bit more blogging based on those specific venues. And over time, those changes take effect, and then your life gets a little happier every single year.
Do with my time. I went on Kijiji, I went on Craigslist, and someone was hiring a photographer to do nightclub photography. So basically in Toronto, 2008, I think that was like a good time to go if you were young or in your 20s or maybe 30s, you would go out and go clubbing. So Toronto was littered with nightclubs. So I got my my professional start doing club photography, running into nightclubs on a Friday, Saturday, that eventually became Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I got a lot of practice in the clubs. We're talking about not just 1 or 2 clubs, we're talking about like probably up to 15 clubs a night, especially on Friday and Saturday. So just imagine a guy like me going in the nightclub and you're basically in a crowded space, you gotta move around a lot of people, and all you can do is take pictures and also get rejected. But also, the whole point was it was perfect target practice to get me better every day, every night, every week, every year. So club photography made me who I am today as a really great photographer. Rooms, and also DJ'd at school dances, and that made me get more involved in multimedia, generally speaking. So prior to becoming a professional photographer in 2008, I just thought of photography as a way, like a hobby. I never knew you could make money, actually. I never expected to make money. I just went around taking pictures with my friends. I went traveling, had my Nikon camera, and just took pictures of different cities that I was visiting. And also just threw them onto Flickr. Flickr was, at that time, was a site that you can host your photos. And Facebook wasn't around at that time. Instagram wasn't around that time. So if you ever find my Flickr account, I have like 10 years of photographs prior to my professional career as a photographer. When I
So what I first did is I tried to slow down the game a little bit. How do you do that? You get a little further away. So like, you know, hockey, I would shoot from upstairs for the first while, where, you know, all the action happens within like this kind of area. So like your motions are small, you can learn how to anticipate, you learn how to like figure out what's going on, you learn how like, okay, the player dumped the puck, I'm gonna hang on to him for a second because somebody might hit him. You know, you're kind of learning all these little lessons, but by being further up, like your camera motions are like tiny, right? Like, so like, you know, if I'm sitting upstairs and I'm shooting a hockey game, you know, I'm on net and then the puck's going to the blue line, I'm only moving this much from where I am because I'm covering the net here and the blue line here and then center ice here. So like, but if I'm ice level, puck rings around the thing, I'm down there, and then all of a sudden that goalie kicks the puck back out that way, you're twisting. So part of it is learning how to slow down the game at the beginning and learning how to anticipate. And then as you get better with that, you can start moving closer and closer to the play and learning to anticipate, right? Like, you know, like the other thing too is with some of the lenses you can pre-focus. So if I'm using that 70 to 200, that 200 to 400 EF lens, and there's somebody on first base, and I'm going to be shooting the pitcher or the batter, but there's always a chance of a double play, that lens allows you to pre-focus on second base. So like I can do a pre-focus, click on the lens and set the pre-focus for second base, go back to home plate, and then if I see that runner going, or if I hear the players yell runner, like whatever, I can spin over and then there's a ring on the camera that like you just give it a little tap and then the focus jumps to that pre-focus spot.
Black magic.
Planning a year out, we have sea lifts that are going up to deliver my snowmobiles and my tents and my camp, which stays in big containers until May, essentially, or March when we get there. So I'm usually shooting for editorial brands, everything to make it feasibly reasonable, about $60,000 to $100,000 to fund these Arctic shoots, essentially. So usually my brand sponsor is Canada Goose. Makes sense, right?
So there's a lot of experiential things.
That because if you think about it, people are used to getting photos of their faces, but what a beautiful thing to give them photos of details of like their hands or anything like that, especially if you think about when they're older and they look back on these photos. So I do a mix of having faces and like body parts in it. Yes. This client session, I delivered, I think like 300-ish proofs for them to select 20 from. And they ordered like 30 above that because they just could not narrow it down. And I don't do that for the profit in mind. That's a nice bonus, but what a beautiful thing it is to show details of their hands or scenery. A lot of people forget just to include photos of scenery of where you're shooting, because what do people love about photos? They look at something and it invokes like that feeling of nostalgia, of a memory. So just including a photo of where you're shooting, the leaves in the trees or anything like that, and get them walking, get them laying down on the ground. In this photo, this was like at a construction site, and I was like, are you guys cool as laying in these dandelions? And they were like, okay. I was like, I put a camera lens that you can do. So even if someone, you have them pose like this, getting them to look at the lens versus looking away, looking down, looking like off to the side, back at you. There's so many missed opportunities of people not taking advantage of just changing eye contact alone.
They had amputations that year, they had rescues on the way, and I was in Asia when I heard that. I was supposed to fly in and meet them. So it was unfortunate, but we recovered. The team was back out there next year, and we made it happen this year, except contingency in the shoot, because I'm not a little tiny watch shooter. I'm not a product shooter. So part of the contingency and the fact that you never know if you can get on the sea ice. Sometimes we get out there and there's accidents that happen. The year before, my entire team, we commute from Iqaluit all the way to Pond Inlet. It takes about, depending, 10 days of snowmobiling if nothing happens. But this coastline, and I was like, oh, okay. I think maybe I'll be going in this direction along this coastline. So what we did was climb a pretty massive cliff with a 200-500 to get an aerial-like shot. So these are the non-negotiables in your own ethics and non-negotiables in what your expectation that your gear has to do versus it can do, and then your personal safety idea. Be creative with how you solve that issue. So it's like, I can't drone, I still want the shot. How am I going to execute it? I had the opportunity and I can make the choice, the safe choice of getting eye level, with which most photographers for wildlife want to get eye level. But for me, I was like, this is my only chance. I have this really high cliff that I can get on. I might not ever get that shot again. I can get eye level at another time. So we executed with that. But there is a time and place for my drone as well. For these environmental shots where, you know, I could pop up and see the bear as a tiny bear, not close to it, or for landscape shots. But as a result, I don't bring an ultra wide lens for the sea ice, which is really strange. A lot of landscape artists would bring everything in the kitchen sink, read papers, all that stuff. At night, I pre-visualize that I'm there with my cameras. I shoot with two bodies. Which lenses are on those bodies? What does it look like when I have my camera up against my eyes? How am I putting down the second body? What does it feel like when I'm walking on the ice and the snow? How does the weight feel of my bag that I've chosen to have on my back, right? All those things kind of, or even how am I going to sit on the back of a snowmobile carrying an 800mm or a 600mm? And then not drop it. Right? Can I balance? Those pre-visualization techniques seem pretty foo-foo to a lot of people, but if anybody is into sports, lots of sports psychologists have said that these pre-visualization techniques can actually build muscle memory. And I think from a performance perspective for photographers, you can really benefit from doing these pre-visualization techniques. You show up not as a newbie, like somehow you have been here before, and in some way psychologically you have. So use your imagination in that way. And from the polar bear world, a lot of people think different species. We're one species, and we're scared of the differences between one another, the diversity. So for me, celebrating like my own diversity, telling stories of cultural diversity and the beauty and the differences in humans is kind of one of the things that I'm hoping to move forward with in my career. And it's going to require a lot more new skills that are uncomfortable to learn, but I'm going to have to sit with it and push through. So, the scope, I'm like, here's an 800mm. But my friend here, Jeff, I was just in the Great Bear Rainforest, and he's like, I'm dying to try the Z8. And I'm like, you got it. And he's like, oh, you have two Z8s? I'm like, no, I have one. I shoot a Z8 and a Z9. And he's like, well, what are you going to shoot? And I'm like, the Z9 and the Z7. And he was like, you're going to give me the Z7? You're going to shoot with the Z7 and give me the Z9? Or Z8? And I'm like, why not? Like, as long as I know that I'm doing that, and the Z7 is technically my backup if anything were to happen to it.
So there's a lot of experiential things. 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 So there's a lot of experiential things.
Groups do things like this, providing images, working with them in communications is really important to me. I just actually finished a Climate Alliance workshop on communications for climate change, and so working beyond your comfort zone. I'm a photographer, but I'd hope that I'd be more than that or contribute more than just pretty images. And so these little cutouts here are actually pretty cool. We want to start talking about having a 100 meter maximum distance from polar bears. So with these little postcards that hopefully everybody picks up because of the pretty images, a polar bear has to, if you see a polar bear in the distance, it has to fit in that little cutout. And that would mean that it is a good distance away from you that you are safe. So it's an educational training thing for the community and for visitors. And beyond the Arctic, I work with a lot of tourism boards abroad. This was recently in Borneo. It was a fam trip. Going from the sea ice to this is very different. This is humid and hot. And my camera also lives outside on my balcony here because of moisture issues. Again, the opposite though. But my batteries come in to charge in air conditioning instead of heat. I don't take care of my gear. I don't baby my gear. I don't want to, it's like my boyfriend. I don't want to mother my partner, right? I want to adventure with it. I want whatever I'm going through. I need my camera to be able to be tough enough to endure that, and that is my non-negotiable. I can work with everything else. I can figure out everything else, but I can't figure out the toughness. If it breaks, if I'm too scared to use it for whatever reason, it's not going to work. And even when I was on the river, a lot of people have their cameras inside of bags. This is a freshwater river. I mean, I was on sea ice with salt. This is nothing. Like a little splash of this is nothing for don't let them hear, but it's nothing, okay? I have my 800 millimeter right between my legs. We're going through some light rapids here, and this is just a landscape setup that I have. But we're going down the river, and in reality, if I wasn't ready like that, I wasn't comfortable having my gear out, I wouldn't be able to get shots like these, right? I wouldn't be able to, and you only get one chance because it's a fam trip. You only have 3 days to execute, and you have to be ready. And preparation is a lot of it because we're used to this comfort zone of how we shoot. These cameras are super advanced, right? Like they almost make pictures by themselves, and they do. There's auto capture mode. But
so there's a lot of experiential things. So there's a lot of experiential things.
You know, if I want to take a photo of a CN Tower, take a photo of the CN Tower, what story is that CN Tower telling me? It's not telling me anything. And then I thought, in wildlife photography, how the heck is your photo telling a story? Like, it's a photo of an animal, but with time, I started thinking about it, and I realized that your photo, a good wildlife photo, should tell you a little bit more than just saying, this is a picture of an animal. So, this is a photo of a whale, and this is a photo about a whale. So basically, the first photo is just, it's a tail of a whale. I'm identifying that there's a whale there. But this is a photo of a pilot whale that was stranded. It passed away, unfortunately. You've got the caring hand of rescuers trying to help it. It tells a story. It gives you a little bit more information than just taking a documentation shot that I saw a whale. Especially in Africa, all the cats. Once it gets hot, the cats are sleeping. But light gives you amazing opportunities to get great photos.
Black magic.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
But to be really clear, focus stacking lets you put the areas of your subject in focus that you want in focus and the areas that you want out of focus. So if you like that super soft crushed blurry background that you get at f2.8 or f4, but you need more in focus, you can say, give me that blurry background, give me the sharp subject, and put them together, and you choose what's in and what's out. That photo of the long-legged fly there, I wanted really just the big eyes and just behind the head in focus, but I wanted everything else nice and soft. And you're able to control that in post. Location that you get from a smaller sensor doubles the size of the result. And I'm trying to make things look big, okay? So that I consider to be an advantage. That's the more magnification. Excellent in-camera JPEG processing. Now I do shoot in RAW, but there are certain times with certain technologies, like in-camera focus stacking, where I will have a JPEG that comes out of the camera, and the results are gorgeous. You know, every camera system processes in-camera a little differently, and I really like the aesthetic of how OM system handles JPEG processing in camera. And then savable, shareable, custom settings. I have my default macro setting. So you might say, look, I need to take 5 shots here or 10 shots so I can find the one that's actually in perfect focus when I get home. Simplest reason why you would use focus bracketing. But most often, we're capturing that bracketed series so we can go back home and assemble or composite that pile of images with different focus into one really sharp, hyper-focused image.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
One is the waiter at the restaurant the other night literally wrote out on a receipt for me like 10 different things to check out. I think it's that energy that if you can bring that to your filmmaking, you can build your team, make those relationships, make those, I'd like to say, kind of sideways investments. A lot of times when you're getting started, you want to reach out to your idol, the person you look up to the most. And I think that's great, do that, but I also think it's reaching out to the people. If you're a cinematographer, find a director that you want to work with. Find an editor that you want to work with. These are the people that as they grow, you will grow. And that to me is really exciting what filmmaking is all about. It's such a collaborative art form. My partner does ceramics, and she sits at the wheel, she does that by herself, and so like her output is determined by what she can physically do in a day. But I think as a filmmaker, what's exciting is your output and what you create is elevated and lifted and multiplied by the team you build. I now have to pull out wider to have enough headroom for my subject. Here, I don't have to pull out as wide. And so we know when we're closer to a subject, the background, the compression, all of that changes versus being wider. So the C50 has open gate internal raw recording, which is really exciting, and to me feels kind of like a full circle moment. If you think of the 5D, 2008, 2009, all the way till now, we now have, in a small form factor, that beautiful image that's using the entire sensor. And I think that's really exciting. I think that's exciting for the next generation of filmmakers. I also think that's exciting for those who are established, who are looking to film beautiful imagery, maybe for a doc project, where you don't want to have a big, heavy camera intimidating your subject. I think it's really exciting for, you know, if you're making sketches for TikTok, for YouTube, and you want to be able to be nimble and light, you can throw all of this into one body. You can throw a little, 24-70 zoom lens on there. The handle has XLR inputs. You can put your labs into that, put a shotgun mic on it. And with one battery, one memory card, you're ready to go. Throw it on a gimbal. It's really light and quick to balance.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.
You know, like, if it rains a lot, I'm supposed to be outside capturing how it's raining a lot. If it snows a lot, I'm supposed to be outside capturing how it snows a lot. If it like, you know, like any situation, my cameras get beat up. Like, they get beat up. If you look at them, there's nicks, scratches, all this kind of stuff. So for this, we plan ahead of time. So for this, in my bag with me, I have they sell these like little like plastic $10. There's two of them. They're little rain covers for your camera. They're plastic, not great, but you can also buy better ones. Canon, before I covered the playoffs, like I showed them these pictures, and for the next round they go like, okay, here's a better rain cover. Like, so I have these rain covers, but for the most part I wrap it in plastic, right? So like, you know, like people do all kinds. Like, it's funny. Like next time I'm in this kind of situation, I'm going to take pictures about how everybody wraps their camera, because it's all different, right? And so for me, I have I get these plastic bags, and they have like ties on them, so like you can make it tight to the thing. If you have you'll have a flash on it, so usually like I'll have that on like I'll have another bag over the flash. But for the most part, like I'm using like giant Ziploc bags when I have to. If I don't have these other things handy, I go out and I buy the giant Ziploc bags and just put the whole camera in, poke the lens out, tape that, tape it around the lens. So the only thing exposed is the front element. And then the only thing exposed on the back is like I'll cut a little hole for the viewfinder, and I'll tape that into place. So that like the only two parts that are coming in contact with the champagne are the front element and the viewfinder. No, it doesn't overheat. It's cooling down all the time because the champagne's cold and the beer's cold. But one of the things I do is, because like I'm always shooting in bad weather, is I've always got these plastic bags with me, but I also, every time I go to a hotel, I take the shower cap from the room. Because you open that up and that fits perfectly over any camera. And it's just such an easy way, like if you're out shooting, like, you know, like if there's a storm and you want to capture lightning and you don't want your camera to get wet. Boom, that right over the camera, and you make a little hole in it for the lens. Like, perfect little like way to deal with that. Like, if you were to go into my trunk, I've got about 15 shower caps. And then they're nice because they pack up nice and small.
Black magic.
I was attracting couples. I don't know where this came from. Maybe it was a Reddit post or something. But 3 couples within the course of, I'm going to say 2 months, got in touch with me, sent me an inquiry, and all they wanted was a highlight film, and then they wanted photos of the family, and that was it. So they were hiring me as a highlight, as a video person first, but still doing the family photos, because I understand that's important. But it was such a weird flip. Usually I'm there, photographer first. Photography in weddings is kind of that staple product that like everyone, for the most part, hires. And I was all of a sudden like, oh, so I'm the video person, I'm going to come in and do the family photos, and I'm going to come in and do maybe like 10 or 15 photos of the ceremony. And it was very weird, and honestly scary for me to deliver their gallery of images, and it was like 55 images. Like, this feels so bizarre to me. But they really did just want the video. So there are couples, and I'm going to say increasingly so, as a lot of people that are now going to be getting married have grown up in Snapchat and Reels era. It's going to be that like video is just becoming increasingly more popular for them, and the way that they like to relive their day. So it becomes messy from a marketing standpoint because I want to keep it clean and have everything make sense. And now all of a sudden there's this like weird variable in there. So I don't know how I'm going to implement that yet, but it is a thing that's happening. Another huge opportunity I think for hybrid is also for wedding or for families. So if you're doing a family session, to do a few video clips, I use a company called PickTime for all my gallery delivery, and you can put little vertical or horizontal video clips in your gallery. So as they're scrolling through their photos, one of the photos of their kids is just going to be them moving around and running. And for me, I think that this is something that's really, really valuable. You can also do this with your weddings as well, but if you want to essentially kind of become the role, I don't know if you've all heard of the wedding content creator that's like hired to come around with a phone and follow the couple around. A lot of photographers have felt hesitance to have somebody else come and do that kind of coverage. But if you are delivering a gallery that includes some vertical clips for them, all of a sudden you're kind of doing that role, so you're not going to be put in that spot that you're now battling with a video team and you're battling with a content creator, and then you're just trying to get the photography and their eyes are going 3 different places during family photos. Now just including those video clips, I feel like is a better deliverable. It makes your clients happier, and it's also going to make you more money. Thinking about doing like a little bit of video coverage, don't go all in and just start doing like a full highlight film for them and completely forget about the fact that you're hired to do the photography. The hardest thing I think for me really in the beginning was just remembering to also do video, which was, I guess, silly in sounds, but I would just get into photography brain. I'd be like, all right, I know what I'm doing. I've done a bunch of these, getting ready coverage. And then I would leave and I'd be like, oh, I didn't even shoot like a single video clip. Like I have to figure that out. So we'd be on site somewhere and I'd be like, oh, like adjust your tie and cuffs. And I would do it, like you can solve problems, but the hardest part for me was just like remembering to do it. But as long as your couples know that you're creating some sort of film for them, I don't know, I think that's the best place to be. You need a camera that can switch fast. So as I mentioned, some cameras, the buffer speed just doesn't write fast enough. With all the Nikon current Z cameras, they're all incredible, no complaints at all. And it's basically like you're just switching between photo and video mode. So you're taking the regular photos you would take, and then you're switching to video, you're recording a video clip, and you're going back to photo mode, taking pictures. And then over time, it's going to be maybe just like 10, 15, 20 weddings to figure out like, okay, so getting ready, I need to do both photo video coverage. For cocktail hour, that's actually more of a photo-only moment. I'm going to go around, I'm going to get candid photos, I'm going to ask some people to get together and smile and face the camera. But it's not something, with the exception of maybe like a wide shot, that I'm going to be doing both dual coverage on. So that comes with learning kind of what you use and the style of films that you want to make. But it really is just about going each mode. And it's a lot of experimentation in the beginning and figuring out kind of what you like to look at. But overall, it's like, I would say, a good investment of your time to learn. As I mentioned, the hardest part is more of the mindset and remembering to do the thing than the actual technical. The technical is like 3 slides. It's like do slow motion, like lock your settings off so you're in manual mode. But to remember to do it ongoing is the hard part. And also, I guess, just to bring in the stuff you've already learned as a photographer, that you know good light, and you're able to set that up and really kind of take a lot of the learning curve of video away. My process for me is always photo first. So that means that I'm there to get the photo, and then I will switch to video after. I will just I'll set my video clips up like I would just do photography. I'm very photojournalistic. I'm not cueing anyone. I'm not yelling action for the couple to like do a thing. It's just the exact same process that I would do with my photography. And I'll just I'll just hold my camera, everything's handheld, and I'll let the motion and everything happen within it.
So there's a lot of experiential things. So there's a lot of experiential things.
Isn't really it. So at that point, they're like, can you swap this with any other shot? But other than that, if I'm focusing on the people, the most important people, there's very rarely any edits, which is really nice. There's also the option to go kind of all in with this and to do full ceremony coverage as well as full speeches. I get asked this a lot, and if this makes sense to you, this is awesome. For me, I guess the reason I like doing the highlight is because with full ceremony coverage and full speeches, you do get some bonus troubleshooting, and it's primarily with audio. So there's like as much to learn with capturing good audio as there is with capturing video, and there's not more things that can go wrong, but you're usually not as attentive if you're plugged into the DJ console. And for instance, like you do a mic check and it's at this level, and then the MC comes on and they're really, really loud, and you run over and you dial down your audio. And then the first person to come up on the mic is very quiet. Speaking of audio like this, and then you're running back to, you can solve a 32-bit floats kind of shooting raw audio. But overall, it's, in my opinion, a lot easier if you just, at least if you start by just doing video clips and have it set to music rather than trying to do everything.
Black magic.
So there's a lot of experiential things.
I'm behind. You're so comfortable in front of the camera. Only for like 30 seconds at a time.